A pirate with an eye patch, a peg leg, and a hook walks into a bar. The bartender notices him and decides to ask about his injuries. "So," he starts off, "how'd you get that peg leg?" "A shark bit off my leg." "And the hook?" "An enemy pirate cut off my hand." The bartender gasps, fascinated by the pirate's stories. "What about the eye patch?" "A seagull pooped in my eye." "A seagull caused that?" "How?" the bartender questioned. "Well, 'twas my first day with the hook."
A Florida couple, both well into their 80s, go to a sex therapist's office. The doctor asks, "What can I do for you?" The man says, "Will you watch us have sexual intercourse?" The doctor raises both eyebrows, but he is so amazed that such an elderly couple is asking for sexual advice that he agrees. When the couple finishes, the doctor says, "There's absolutely nothing wrong with the way you have intercourse." He thanks them for coming, he wishes them good luck, he charges them $50, and he says goodbye. The next week, the same couple returns and asks the sex therapist to watch again. The sex therapist is a bit puzzled, but agrees. This happens several weeks in a row. The couple makes an appointment, has intercourse with no problems, pays the doctor, and then leaves. Finally, after 3 months of this routine, the doctor says, "I'm sorry, but I have to ask, just what are you trying to find out?" The man says, "We're not trying to find out anything. She's married, so we can't go to her house. I'm married, and we can't go to my house. The Holiday Inn charges $98. The Hilton charges $139. We do it here for $50, and Medicare pays $43 of it, leaving my net cost of $7.
All of the passengers on a plane are seated and ready for takeoff. The pilot and co-pilot are late. The passengers and crew are getting frustrated. A couple of minutes go by, and suddenly the co-pilot boards and is wearing dark glasses while waving around a mobility cane. He clumsily makes his way to the co-pilot's seat. The passengers feel uneasy. A couple more minutes go by, and the pilot finally makes his way into the plane, and is also waving around a mobility cane. He also clumsily makes his way into the pilot's seat. One of the passengers asks one of the flight attendants if the co-pilot and pilot are blind. Yes, they are blind, but they are one of the best pilot and co-pilots we have. Even with that answer, the passengers still feel uneasy. The plane is on the runway and starts rolling forward. It's picking up speed fast, but after 20 seconds, the plane still hasn't lifted off the ground. The passengers feel it's been too long, and they look out the windows. They see that the runway is running out, and they haven't lifted off the ground. The passengers collectively let out a scream, and the plane manages to finally take off and starts to gain altitude. The pilot and co-pilot turn towards each other, and the co-pilot says, "All of these years flying together, imagine if no one ever screamed. We'd be fucked." A guy is sorting shelves at a grocery store when a new old lady approaches him and asks, "Where's the broccoli?" He says, "Sorry, we're out of broccoli." She walks away and comes back 10 minutes later and asks them the same thing to the same guy. He's a little confused but remains polite. "Sorry, miss, we're out of broccoli." 10 minutes go by, and the same old bitch comes back to the guy. "Sir, do you have any broccoli?" Bewildered and annoyed, the guy says, "Ma'am, how do you spell cat? Just humor me. How do you spell cat, as in catastrophe?" C-A-T. Good. Now spell dog, as in dogmatic. D-O-G. Good. Now spell fuck, as in broccoli. But there is no fuck in broccoli. That's what I've been trying to tell you. A fireman is sitting in front of the station when he sees a little boy coming down the street in a little red wagon. He's put little ladders on the side and a garden hose is coiled in the front. The kid is wearing a fireman's helmet and the wagon is tied to a dog and a cat who are pulling the wagon. That sure is a nice fire truck you got there. Thanks, the boy says. The fireman looks more closely and sees the boy has the wagon tied to the dog's collar and the cat's testicles. As the red wagon stops in front of him, the fireman observes. The fireman says, "Little partner, I don't mean to tell you how to run your fire truck, but if you were to hook that rope around the cat's collar, I bet he could pull harder." The kid answered, "I know, but then I wouldn't have a siren." A boy dreams of one day working at his favorite sandwich shop. And so he asks the owner if he could see how the sandwiches are made. Delighted, the owner shows him how he grinds his own peanut butter, prepares his own pickles, and even whips up his own mayonnaise. The boy is so excited that he blurts out his deepest wish to see how the owner makes his signature sandwich, a wrap with the most deliciously spiced meat the boy had ever tasted. The owner assents, showing him how he bakes his own pita bread, mixes his own yogurt sauce, and formulates his own spice blend. Shaking with excitement, the boy watches as the owner carefully pours the spice blend onto his own freshly made tofu. With barely a whisper, the boy says, "It was tofu this whole time?" The owner understands his mixture of disappointment and confusion. He places a comforting hand on the boy's shoulder and says, "Let this be a lesson, child. Never meet your gyros." A boy sits in class watching the clock when the teacher stands up in front of the class and tells the class, since there isn't much time before the end of class and it is Friday, she will play a game with them. She explains the rules. Teacher, guess which president said the quote, "and you can leave early"? The boy is excited. This is his favorite subject and he knows he is going home early today. Teacher, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. The boy raises his hand, hoping the teacher will pick him. A girl in class raises her hand. Teacher, Mary, who said that? Mary, John F. Kennedy. Teacher, correct. Goodbye. The boy is disappointed, but knows he will get the next one. Teacher, 77 years ago our... Before she could finish, the boy and two girls raised their hands. Teacher, Jessica, who said that? Jessica, Abe Lincoln. That's right, you can leave now. The boy is now getting upset. He sits at the edge of his chair. Teacher, I am not a crook. The boy raises his hand and waves hysterically. Another girl gets called on. Teacher, Amy, who said that? Amy, Richard Nixon. Teacher, bye now. The boy, I wish these bitches could keep their mouths shut. Teacher, who said that? The boy, Bill Clinton. See you Monday. A man at a routine checkup is diagnosed with terminal brain cancer. I'm sorry. At this stage, the cancer has spread too far for us to stop. Our treatments will only postpone the inevitable. Doc, please, isn't there anything at all that you can do? Well, there is one thing. I don't know if it'll help, though. I'm begging you, man, please. The doctor sighs, stands up, and grabs an unmarked bottle from one of his cabinets. He pours a small amount into a glass and hands it to the patient. Now, when I turn off the lights, drink this as fast as you can." The doctor switches off the lights, and the patient eagerly gulps it up, then coughs, surprised. "Wait, is this whiskey? How is this supposed to cure me?" "I'm sorry. It was a shot in the dark." A new soldier, fresh out of boot camp, is deployed to a remote base in Afghanistan. After about a week, the young soldier is approached by a staff sergeant. "Private, how is everything?" he asks. "It's okay, sir. It's just so desolate out here. Some of the guys have been deployed here for months. There are no women anywhere. What do they do? For women?" The staff sergeant motions towards the south end of the base and says, "The boys have some camels tied up over there. No one's going to judge you out here, son." The private shook his head in disgust, telling himself he would never stoop that low. A few weeks later, the private is pent up. He needs release. He finally decides to join the club. So early one morning, he gets up, walks over to the camels, and unties one. He begins pumping away at the camel from behind when the staff sergeant and the major discover him. "Private, just what in the fuck do you think you're doing?" the staff sergeant asks. "But you said the boys have these camels tied up." "You idiot," the sergeant says. "The boys ride the camels into town to hire a prostitute." One evening, a man was at home watching TV and eating peanuts. He'd toss them in the air and then catch them in his mouth. In the middle of catching one, his wife asked him a question, and as he turned to answer her, a peanut fell in his ear. He tried and tried to dig it out, but succeeded in only pushing it in deeper. He called his wife for assistance, and after hours of trying, they became worried and decided to go to the hospital. As they were ready to go out the door, their daughter came home with her date. After being informed of the problem, their daughter's date said he could get the peanut out. The young man told the father to sit down, then proceeded to shove 2 fingers up the father's nose and told him to blow hard. When the father blew, the peanut flew out of his ear. The mother and daughter jumped and yelled for joy. The young man insisted that it was nothing. Once he was gone, the mother turned to the father and said, "That's so wonderful! Isn't he smart? What do you think he's going to be when he grows up?" The father replied, "From the smell of his fingers, our son-in-law." A comedy club where a stammerer and a drunkard meet at the bar. Stammerer, "Welcome to the party. I'm so glad you could make it." Drunker, "Hi there. Wait, no, I'm the one who's supposed to stutter. You're stealing my thunder. No, I've been practicing. I've got a speech coach and everything." "Practicing? I've been rehearsing with a beer." "It's all about the delivery, man." Delivery? You're the one who's always delivering slurred lines." "Hey, that's my style. I'm like a Shakespearean actor with a hangover." "Well, I think I've got you beat. I can say, 'The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog in under 10 seconds. "Oh, yeah? I can say, "I love beer" in under 2 seconds. They both laugh. All right, you two. No more free drinks for either of you. We're going to have to pay? Pay? I've already paid with my dignity." A wife was in the kitchen trying to whip up a nice breakfast of fried eggs for her husband when suddenly he stormed in like a frantic chef on a cooking competition show. "Whoa, whoa, whoa, careful, you're putting in too many eggs. Where's the butter? More butter. Oh my gosh, they're gonna stick. Turn them now." She stared at him, mouth agape. Is this a cooking emergency or a fire drill? Seriously, we need more butter. But where are we going to get more butter? Maybe the grocery store, she replied, rolling her eyes. Careful, you never listen to me when you're cooking. I mean, you wouldn't want them to stick, would you? Maybe I'd like to see you try cooking them next time, she shot back. Did you just say next time? Are you crazy? Have you lost your mind? Don't forget to salt them. You know you always forget to salt them. Use the salt, the salt. Finally, the wife snapped. What is wrong with you? You think I don't know how to fry a couple of eggs? He looked at her with a smirk and replied, I just wanted to show you what it feels like when I'm driving. An 80-year-old man had to provide a sperm sample for his physical exam. The doctor gave him a jar and said, take this jar home and bring back a sample tomorrow. The next day, the man returned to the doctor's office with the jar as clean and empty as the day before. The doctor asked, what happened? The man explained, well, doc, it's like this. First I tried with my right hand, but nothing. Then I tried with my left hand, still nothing. Then I asked my wife for help. She tried with her right hand, then with her left, still nothing. She even tried with her mouth, first with her teeth in, then with her teeth out, but still nothing. We even called Arlene, the lady next door. She tried too. First with both hands, then an armpit, and she even tried squeezing it between her knees, but still nothing. The doctor, shocked, asked, you asked your neighbor? The old man replied, yep, none of us could get the jar open. A nurse was on duty in the emergency room when a young woman with purple hair, styled into a punk rocker mohawk, sporting a variety of tattoos and wearing strange clothing, entered the ER. It was quickly determined that the patient had acute appendicitis, so she was scheduled for immediate surgery. When she was completely disrobed on the operating table, the staff noticed that her pubic hair had been dyed green, and above it there was a tattoo that read, "Keep off the grass." Once the surgery was completed, the surgeon wrote a short note on the patient's dressing which said, "Sorry, had to mow the lawn." Kelvin had just received his brand new driver's license. To celebrate, the whole family trooped out to the driveway and climbed into the car for his inaugural drive. Dad immediately headed to the back seat, directly behind the newly minted driver. "I'll bet you're back there to get a change of scenery after all those months of sitting in the front passenger seat teaching me how to drive," said the beaming boy to his old man. "Nope," came Dad's reply. "I'm going to sit back here and kick the back of your seat while you drive, just like you have been doing to me for 16 years. First-year students at med school were receiving their first anatomy class with a real dead human body. They all gathered around the surgery table with the body covered with a white sheet. The professor started the class by telling them, "In medicine, it is necessary to have two important qualities as a doctor. The first is that you not be disgusted by anything involving the human body." As an example, the professor pulled back the sheet, stuck his finger in the butt of the corpse, withdrew it, and stuck his finger in his mouth. "Go ahead and do the same thing," he told his students. The students freaked out, hesitated for several minutes, but eventually took turns sticking a finger in the butt of the dead body and sucking on it. When everyone finished, the professor looked at them and told them, "The second most important quality is observation. I stuck out my middle finger and sucked on my index finger. Now, learn to pay attention." A professor told dirty jokes in class, and the women wanted to protest it. So they decided that in the next time that the professor starts with these kinds of jokes, they all will leave the class as a protest. Somehow, the professor heard about the plan. In the next lecture, in the beginning of the lecture, he said, "In Sweden, a prostitute makes 2,000 pounds per night." All the women stood up and started to leave the class. So he shouted after them, Where are you going? The plane to Sweden doesn't take off until the day after tomorrow. A grandfather is giving directions to a grown grandson who is coming to visit with his wife. You come to the front door of the apartment complex. I'm in apartment 15T. There's a big panel at the door. With your elbow, push button 15T. I'll buzz you in. Come inside, and the elevator is on the right. Get in, and with your elbow, press 15. When you get out, I'm on the left. With your elbow, hit my doorbell. Grandpa, don't worry, I know my way. But why am I hitting all these buttons with my elbow? Are you coming empty-handed? A drunk gets up from the bar and heads for the bathroom. A few minutes later, a loud scream is heard from the bathroom. A few minutes after that, another loud scream came through the bar. The bartender goes in to check why the drunk is screaming about in there. You're scaring the customers. I'm just sitting here on the toilet, and every time I flush, something comes up and squeezes the hell out of my balls. The bartender opens the door, looks in, and says, "You idiot! You're sitting on the mop bucket." An old man, Mr. Bob, was living in a nursing home. One day he appeared to be very sad and depressed. Nurse Patricia asked him if there was anything wrong. "Yes, Nurse Patricia," said Mr. Bob. "My private part died today, and I am very sad." Knowing her patients were a little forgetful and sometimes a little crazy, she replied, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Mr. Bob. Please accept my condolences." The following day, Mr. Bob was walking down the hall with his private part hanging out of his pajamas. He met Nurse Patricia. "Mr. Bob," she said, "you shouldn't be walking down the hall like that. Please put your private part back inside your pajamas." "But, Nurse Patricia, I can't," replied Mr. Bob. "I told you yesterday that my private part died." "Yes," said Nurse Patricia. "You did tell me that, but why is it hanging out of your pajamas?" "Well," he exclaimed, "today is the viewing."